Welcome to Circus and Changing Realities 2020, a series of virtual dialogues about the future of circus, produced by CircusTalk. I'm your moderator, Jessica Hentoff, and my co-moderator, Joel Gershon. This episode is titled Transitioning from Social Circus to Professional Circus. I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about my co-moderator. Joel is originally a New Yorker who now lives in Washington, D.C., and teaches at the American University School of Communication. After having lived in Bangkok as a TV and print reporter from 2005 to 2017. He has spent the last 9 years working on his first feature film, a documentary called Cirque du Cambodia, which just had its world premiere at the United Nations Association Film Festival. You're muted.
Yes, thank you so much, Jessica. It's one of those Zoom things. It's a pleasure to be with you. I am Joel Gershon. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm coming to you from Washington, D.C., which is originally was lived in by the tribal group, the Anacostans. And it's, important to mention that at the start. So, and it's a pleasure to be with you, Jessica, and I'll give a little bio about you. You, Jessica, have been teaching and performing circus arts for over 41 years. Jessica has been the recipient of the St. Louis Arts Innovator of the Year Award, Outstanding Arts Educator of the Year, American Youth Circus Organization and American Circus Educators Excellence in Circus Education Award, and the Youth Development Practitioner Award by the Youth Learning Institute. Jessica was a founding member of both the Big Apple Circus and Circus Flora, and is the founder and artistic and executive director of Circus Harmony, a St. Louis-based social circus that builds character and expands community by helping children defy gravity, soar with confidence, and leap over social barriers all at the same time. And I will add that she is also one of the people who appears in my film, Cirque du Cambodia, which we'll be talking about at length, as well as the other three panelists who are with us. They all appear in my documentary film, Cirque du Cambodia, which, as I'll mention, or I'll give some more details later, is going to be available to everybody to see, finally, after working on this film for 9 years, right here at CircusTalk. You can buy your ticket. So, I guess we can get into that a little bit more later, but I'd love for everybody else to introduce themselves.
Well, let me first say that I am on the land in St. Louis and Florissant, Missouri, of the Kickapoo, Illini, Osage, and Missouri tribes, and this is where Melvin and I King also grew up on this land. And now I use the pronouns she, her, and we would like to give each of our esteemed panelists moment to introduce themselves. I'm going to do it in the order that I see people, so how about Melvin?
Hello, everyone. I use the pronouns him and he. My name is Melvin Diggs. I have been a professional circus artist for 6 years now. Prior to that, I attended École Nationale de Cirque in Montreal, which is where I met Joel Sopa, and I studied with Sydney as well. I was sent to this lovely place because of the patience and amazing of the woman that just spoke in front of you, Jessica Hentoff, dealing with my hard-headedness. Yes, and yeah, I'll pass it off to Sopa.
Hello, guys. So my name is Sopa from Cambodia, and then I met my friends here also. I was study in Montreal for 5 years. And I don't know how to say, and then I'm an artist for 5 professional, and then I work everywhere, and yeah. Now I pass to Steven. Go ahead.
Hello, guys. My name is Sidney I. King Bateman. I've been a part of Circus for 16 years. I started in St. Louis, Missouri with Circus Harmony as a member of the St. Louis Arches. Started when I was 11 years old as an after-school program. It was a hobby. It was a hobby at first, became something I fell in love with. Circus took me all around the world. I studied in Montreal in a duo with Melvin Diggs, and I attended that school at the same time as SOPA. Graduated ENC in 2014. Started working with the Seven Fingers on a show called Cuisine and Confessions for 2.5 years. After that, did small gigs here and there. And then after that, in 2017, I believe, started working for Lucia, production by Cirque du Soleil, where we traveled around North America. And yes.
And this panel is about transitioning from social circus to professional circus. So Melvin and Sydney were both with Circus Harmony. Sopa was with Far Circus in Cambodia. And this movie, this new documentary that came out, tells about, why don't you talk more about what the movie is about? And then we're going to talk a little bit about that transition for all of you.
Sure. So it's very exciting for me to finally be done with this movie, which I started in 2011. And as Jessica mentioned in the beginning, I was living in Thailand for a number of years as a journalist and a university professor. And in 2011, I was traveling through the kingdom of Cambodia and going from place to place to the ancient temples and enjoying my wonderful journey through the country. And very unexpectedly, when I went to the town of Battambang, I came across, I was looking up things to do, and I came across this circus performance that was put on by local village youth that, they went to this special school that I heard of called Far Panlu Selapak, which translates into brightness of the arts. And I saw this show and immediately was just blown away by everything I saw, by the beautiful show, and just by the whole concept of social circus, which I had never really even heard of before. I'm not a circus performer myself, although I have started to take up juggling. I'm still a beginner. But immediately when I saw this and I saw the kids who come from, a pretty rural village put on this spectacular show, and the joy on their faces and the joy on the faces of the audience, it hit me immediately how social circus just is this amazing form of pedagogy, and I immediately wanted to learn more. I wanted to learn more about FAR, the school that was in Cambodia, and I wanted to learn about social circus. So I kind of set out to make a film, and originally it was supposed to be more focused on FAR, the school, and it does feature quite, it's there quite a bit in my film. But then the more I did some digging around, I found out about Sopa and Dina, who's not here with us today, the two kind of main characters of my film, who were so amazing at circus that even though they were in Cambodia, they applied to and got into with full scholarships to the National Circus School of Montreal, which is known by as maybe the best or one of the best circus schools in the entire world. So Sopa and Dina were kind of like moved across the world to a totally unknown culture. And I thought it was great to kind of follow their journeys and to see where they ended up. And both of them had the idea of Cirque du Soleil possibly in their future, to become the first Cambodians to join the world famous Cirque du Soleil. And I decided that, okay, I'm going to follow their stories and see where it all ends up. And then along the way, I met Sydney and Melvin, who were also with Sopa at the National Circus School of Montreal, and they were friends, and they had their own story about social circus. And, and along the way, as I was trying to learn about social circus, I naturally came across Jessica and Circus Harmony, since they do such an amazing job in St. Louis. And she seemed to be interested in what I was doing with the film. And then, after a number of years, she even became a character in the film, along with Sydney and Melvin, who I interviewed, I think it was like 2014 at this point, or it was quite a while ago. So it's good to see you guys again, by the way. So I guess at this point, I'd love to ask you, Jessica, and the other people here, tell me about how you learned about social circus, how you started your program, and like I'd gone my whole life never hearing of social circus before, and part of the reason I made my film is to show the world the power of social circus and the magic of social circus. So I'd love to hear how you got started, and of course I want to hear from Melvin and Sydney and Sopa about how you all heard about social circus and how it's impacted your lives.
So I started circus in college, fell in love with it, as I believe these three young men will attest. There's something very unique and special and transformative about circus in general. To be able to defy gravity and control objects and fly through the air is a pretty powerful statement. And I went from being in a college circus to my first youth circus was the Circus Kingdom. I came back from my first summer there and said to my coach, Warren Bacon, who later on in the story also came and coached Melvin and Sydney, and I said, this is it. This is what I want to do with my life. How can I repay you? And his answer to me was, I'll tell you what my teacher told me, pass it on. And so I started doing that right away. I did have a professional circus career as an aerialist, cyclist, juggler, did a lot of things in the circus. As these young men will attest, the more skills you do, the more skills you get, and the more work you have. And I moved to St. Louis because my aerial partner said we'd be centrally located so that we could tour, and we did. And then through a series of synchronous events, Circus Flora moved to St. Louis, and I started with them. They asked some of the coaches to go out in the community and teach in the community where they were. The other coaches, one by one, left. I kept going, started the St. Louis Arches, and at one point Circus Flora said, we can't pay for this. I started Circus Harmony to give more St. Louis students additional opportunities to learn circus. It was initially just to teach circus, and then I started realizing the power of what it was doing in terms of changing these young people's outlook on lives, outlook on themselves, and other people's opinion of themselves. And a very amazing man named Dr. Reg Bolton, who wrote a book on why circus works, or he wrote his PhD thesis on it. It should be a book. Came to me and explained the concept of social circus. It was almost called community circus when the term started in Australia, which I think is actually better, but it has become social circus worldwide. There are more and more of these little circus schools popping up with a social focus, which is to work with marginalized youth. I expand that definition. I think it's what your intention is. At Circus Harmony, we do more than just teach circus arts. We teach life skills, and we build pyramids out of humans. We build character and individuals, and we build bridges between people. We did a partnership with a Jewish Arab youth circus in Israel. We have an ongoing partnership with a circus school in Puerto Rico, the National Circus School there, and now with Circus du Soleil in Germany. But I could go on and on. People should just go to circusharmony.org to learn more. But I want to talk about the personal experiences of our panelists. So, Sydney, how did you end up running away and joining the circus? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Sydney.
Okay, that was a nice introduction, guys. And you touched a lot. So like I said, I started circus at the age of 11. And like you, Joel, I knew nothing about circus. I wasn't interested in circus. I actually walked out of my first show when I went to see it. It was Circus Flora. My mentor, her name is Diane Rankin. She took me to see Circus Flora just to see the circus because I was a kid. I loved to flip. And I guess she spoke to Jessica, and she knew Jessica ran this program called the St. Louis Arches, and she wanted to set up a meet and greet with Jessica and I. But before I got the chance to meet Jessica or see the Arches perform, I said, hey, can we leave? Because this is very, very boring. I don't like it at all. And she insisted, are you sure? Do you want to stay? I said, no, I think I've seen enough. And I left. It was just this close. I missed the encounter with Jessica and I. I believe it was a few months down the road. We went to the City Museum, and the City Museum is the home of Circus Harmony, the St. Louis Arches. That's where they're trained year round. And I was walking on the third floor, and I saw these tumbling mats on the ground in this ring. And I just ran into the ring and started flipping on the mats. And then this teacher comes out. His name is Donald Hughes. He said, hey, you can't tumble here unless you're a student. I said, okay, how do I become a student? Because I just want to tumble. And he gave me the paperwork, and I signed up for this class class called Patchwork. It was Patchwork at the time, so many years ago. And that's what started my circus career at the age of 11. I did the 6-week program. I don't know how long it was. It was something like that, maybe 8, 10 weeks. I don't know. I did that program for those amount of weeks. And after Jessica told me, she came to me and said, hey, I don't know, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know how the conversation went, but she was saying that I'm really good. Would you like to join the St. Louis Arches? I said, what's the St. Louis Arches? And she said, it's our events group and you get to tumble, do all of these things. I'm like, let's do it. So I started the Arches. And like I said, it was an after school program at first, and it was something that was fun. And I'm one of 8. And so I started to get attention from the crowd, from people all around the world, or around St. Louis that was in the Arches, and I loved it. And so it became more than an after school program throughout the years. It became a place for me to escape. It became the people that I was working with. They became more than just colleagues. It was family. And I started to slowly realize what social circus was. Like circus is incredible for sure, but I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be the performer that I am today if it wasn't for social circus, because I learned so many life skills. I think the acrobatics, the Diablo, trapeze juggling, all of that stuff was a bonus that I probably would have eventually gotten in any other circus if I started anywhere else. But the life skills, the trust, the respect, the teamwork, respect. I'm going to say that a lot because that's a big one that we learn in social circus. I mean, I come from a place where I don't trust many people because a lot of people come and go out of my life and just all the time. And I was working with people, white people, Chinese people, different people that I would have never seen if it wasn't for circus. And it put me in a world, in an atmosphere that was great. And yeah, balancing people on my shoulders, trusting them with my life, they're trusting me with their lives. It was pretty incredible. And like I said, I played lots of sports as well, basketball, football, but it's supposed to be a team sport. But I didn't learn any of that from playing basketball or football. I really learned teamwork through circus. I can continue, like Jessica said, but I'm going to pass this to Melvin.
Go ahead, Melvin. I do want to say that Melvin is responsible for one of the most quoted lines for many of our students. You know what I'm talking about? At an American Youth Circus Festival a long time ago, they asked some of the students to stand up and say why they were there. And Melvin stood up and said, circus didn't change my life. It saved my life. And how did you end up in the circus? Because it wasn't first in the circus ring.
Hello, everyone. Just to kind of say my name again, my name is Melvin Diggs. And my journey in circus is very similar to Sydney's, but different in a way. I was a youth in St. Louis, Missouri. I moved a lot around with my family. So I kind of like different neighborhoods and everything like this. But in high school, I wasn't going down the right path. So somewhat I ended up in a program called Big Brothers Big Sisters in St. Louis. And Big Brothers Big Sisters led me to meeting a guy named Terry Evans, who was actually one of the kindest people I've ever met in my life, because I was a very hard-headed youth. And he was very patient with me. And he actually knows that in St. Louis, if you're not occupied during the summertime, you will get into all kinds of mischief that can potentially ruin your future, like very easily. So for me, Terry Evans, he introduced me to Big Brothers, not Big Brothers, I'm sorry, to Herbert Hoover, because they were doing a summer program for you just to stay occupied. Also, you can make money by having a summer job. So I signed up for a summer job, and in that summer job, they told me that I can go and work at the news station in St. Louis. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay. Well, I don't know what's going to happen there, but yeah. And about a week before it started, the news station called and canceled and told me that I wasn't going to be working there. So Terry and I talked to the Herbert Hoover, and they actually said, hey, okay, so you're going to go assist a circus program, which is Circus Harmony inside of the City Museum. And just as Sydney said, I had no idea what circus was at all, because in my youth, you're more so focused on a lot of other things. And unfortunately, those things are not very pretty, and they're not very inviting for youth. So anyways, my definition of circus was clowns and elephants and things like this, because I was ignorant to it. I had no knowledge of it. So anyways, I ended up at Circus Harmony in the City Museum working in a snack bar. And as the weeks went by, because it was like a 3 to 4 week program, I believe, because it was just for the summertime, I was just working in a snack bar, and I would occasionally walk back and forth from the stock room to the snack bar itself, and I would see the performances, because the ring is glass, and I would see people doing stuff, but it never really grabbed me just as much. It was always intriguing, but there was one day, which I don't think I've told him a lot, Sydney, but he actually made me want to join it. I was walking past the ring, and it was a tumbling out, which is something that the artists are famous for. They always do an act and then they tumble out. And I seen Sydney tumbling, and he was just like, it's like, oh my God, how does he know how to do this? Like, what is he doing? And
please, no pictures.
Huh?
No pictures, please. I'm sorry.
So I seen this, and I was like, how do we do? I want to learn how to do a flip. I just want to learn how to flip. So I never told Jessica this right away, but I went back to the snack bar, and then there was an opportunity that came up for me to be able to take a class, and Jessica was actually very kind to me. So she was like, okay, I know you can't pay for it. And it just something I didn't have money for, even with the money that I was making from the snack bar. So she told me that you can work and teach for your classes. And eventually I ended up taking classes, and I started to progress pretty quickly, but I broke my arm, not in circus, outside of circus. And I walked away from it. And afterwards, I came back, and I don't know, I just couldn't shake the fact that it was just so intriguing. And I had a conversation with Jessica, and then things just started to develop a little bit more. And I ended up taking more classes. I started to learn a lot quicker than I was expecting. And then an opportunity came up to where Jessica asked me if I wanted to join the St. Louis Arches. And this was all happening within weeks and months of each other. So everything was moving pretty quickly. And I ended up becoming an arch. And as an arch, I was learning all of these different things. I was not just learning tumbling. I was learning juggling. I was learning partner acrobatics. I was learning all of these things. And the wildest thing to me was that I've never had this many interactions with someone outside of my race, which is very, very, very important to say, because that lets you know how confined you are as a youth in St. Louis, inside of these communities and cities where you are only allowed to, not allowed, but you only have access to the people of your own color. Like when I went to school, that was the only time I would see a white teacher. So when I did go to Circus Harmony and I was working with, like Sid said, all of these different races, at first I had a very slim view of what these races were and what their intentions was on me personally. So when I seen that I was meeting people, and Jessica was being so kind and open and just trying to help me, giving me food, just giving me rides back and forth, like in these neighborhoods that you do not want to ride through as a white woman. And it changed my whole perspective on that. Kind people are not a specific race or color. Kind people are kind people because of the things that they've been through in their life. and it opened up my eyes to so many different people. And like he said, Sydney said, it helped me be able to work with any kind of person I encounter. It helped me not make a judgment on the first look of someone. It helped me to actually take the time to get to know that person, then cast my opinion afterwards. And my opinion does not actually matter, but at least give it the option to be able to get to know that person on a more personal level, face-to-face level. Their name, my name, not an image. So from that point forward, at Circus Harmony, I got the opportunity because of Eliana was going to try out for a circus school in Montreal, which I had no knowledge of. I had no idea what I was going to do in my future. I just knew that I didn't have much time left at Circus Harmony because of my age. And Jessica actually informed me, like, hey, would you like to go and try out for this? I was like, I have no idea. I didn't even know much about Canada. That's how slim-minded I was, just because of where I was going in my life. And I got the opportunity to go there. I didn't have money for it. I didn't have a passport. Jessica and Warren, they helped me raise absolutely everything. My big helped me get a passport. And it was my first time, let alone leaving the country, but leaving my city, almost leaving my neighborhood. Well, I ended up going to Montreal for the auditions. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I had no intention of making it pass. I just wanted to go see somewhere different, to explore somewhere else. So I ended up going to Montreal, and I ended up making it through the audition process. And I came back home, and it changed my life. And I was just so, like, my eyes were open to a whole new world, that my world can be way bigger than the 4 blocks that surround my house. And yeah, I ended up getting accepted into the circus school. I went there, and after that, I got an opportunity to perform with the Seven Fingers, to do a creation of a show where I can tell my story on stage with Sydney each and every night to people all over the world. After that, I continued doing, like Sydney said, smaller contracts, and then we got the opportunity to perform with Cirque du Soleil when our schedule freed up, and we ended up being with Cirque du Soleil, and I have been what I was with Cirque du Soleil up until the point COVID ruined everything. And yeah, and now I'm sitting here before you guys today, very, very knowledgeable, respectful, an adult, a person with his eyes wide open, a person willing to communicate and uplift anybody that comes in contact with me. I literally, like Jessica said in the phrase, circus didn't change my life, it saved it. I don't know where I would be or what kind of things I would be doing in this moment if it was not for circus. I would not have been as worldly or cultured or anything if it was not for that. Thank you. Sorry that was super long, but thank you guys.
So thank you so much for giving your perspectives on social circus. And like I said, you know, the whole idea of social circus, when I was traveling through Cambodia and came across this school, Phar Pon Lu Selapak, it just blew me away just to see these kids who came from kind of a somewhat ruralish village put on this spectacular show that was mature and a beautiful artistic interpretation of what was actually, it was a show about the Cambodian genocide. So it was like a serious heavy duty topic, but it was a beautiful artistic expression. So I just immediately could just see if these Cambodian kids, you know, from a kind of rural village could put on such an amazing show, it just opened up all the possibilities to me. And then later on came across Sydney and Melvin, and they told me their whole story from a completely different perspective, but also the same kind of general thing, which was, you know, circus gave them an opportunity to kind of, as you just heard from Melvin and Sydney, completely change their lives and give them a whole new perspective. Now, Sopa, he, you know, was a member of the, you know, the Phar Circus, and of course, as I mentioned, one of the best ones, which is the reason that he ended up at the Montreal school. I mean, I'll let you explain your whole situation, but he comes from a family of 12 brothers and sisters. 8 of them were in the circus school. So that is one serious circus family right there. And, you know, he was just so amazing at circus. They, you know, I guess you couldn't hold talent back. So that, you know, he ended up in Montreal at the best circus school in the world. So why don't you tell him the story about what Phar meant to you, Sopa, growing up, you know, how social circus had an impact on you, and, you know, what happened to you after you went through Phar, went to Montreal, and what happened in your professional life afterwards.
Okay, hello guys again. So yeah, it's so great to hear about your background to be before be artist professional. So I'm also And the first time when I see the circus, because my brother he do circus, and then I always go to the school, and then I have just they have the tapi. I just jumping a lot, and then do some stuff like acrobat and with my my friend, and then we do like construction, like tissue, like everything. And then my brother say, you very good. You're like you do like only 2 days, and then like you better than me. And then come on, you make like 1 year ago. So I just practice only two day, and then I can do like better than him. And then after that, I just like come like every day. I just come school to do like acrobatic and trampoline. And then the coach they told me, oh, you can come every day, and then you can be like active professional later. I say okay, why not? And then I start like they give me the program, and then I should come like every morning. So when I was like 7 years old, that's why I start circus. 7 years old, I start only 2 hours per day, because I have another time I have to go to school. And it's hard for me. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to say in English that with my heart, because I did practice a lot. So right now, I think Joel he only explained already. I think I'm so sorry. So yes, keep
That's
it.
that's great.
Oh, shit.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And maybe if I could just ask you one more question, Topa. What kind of difference in your life and the lives of the people in your village? What is circus? What is the difference that circus makes for people in the life of people in Battambang, near where you live? The people who get to do the circus, how does it change their life? From normal.
Yeah, because the sticker the artists they only have more. They could go like traveling everywhere, and then go meet a lot of people. When you are on stage, maybe after the show, you can meet another people. Everybody give you oh, I don't know. Shit.
Fair enough. I think we get it.
We also don't have a lot of time. I want to talk a little bit about the effect of the pandemic on everybody's career. But right, like for Circus Harmony, oh, we lost Sofa. For Circus Harmony, because we're based in City Museum, the year before the pandemic, we did 740 plus shows, our students and our teachers. And now we're not doing that. Melvin, I think you were in Moscow when the pandemic hit with Cirque du Soleil. But right before that, let's talk really quick to Sydney, because I know he is actively working another job. He went from social circus to circus college to professional circus, and now you want to tell people where you're flipping?
It's
Because it's a different kind of ring.
So yes, now I am a professional wrestler for the WWE. Working with NXT. It's the development brand based out of Orlando. So yes, I went from social circus to circus college, professional circus, now in WWE. And before the pandemic hit, I finished, my last show was December 29th, and I was in Vancouver with Lucia by Cirque du Soleil. And I decided way before that I was ready to make a transition. I didn't know what that transition was. I didn't know what the future had for me, but I knew I needed to make a change, and for many reasons, because I'm a father I'm a father now, so a lot of the traveling was hard on not only me, but I felt my daughter. So I wanted to be somewhere stable, situated for the time being. And so I was thinking of a transition, and then just so happened last April, I stepped foot into a WWE ring and I said, oh my goodness, this is a childhood dream. How do I make this work? And so within a matter of a week, I worked my butt off. I impressed some of the coaches there, got a tryout the week after, and they told me they wanted to hire me, and they told me that they liked my story, all of these things, and I was shocked. I was very, very happy because I was looking for a transition. This was my opportunity. So for the entire year of 2019, I was traveling with Cirque du Soleil, and I would go to Connecticut, New York, Vancouver, Calgary, and I went to Montreal, and doing our shows there. And so I was just find different gyms to train wrestling on my off time, which was only Monday and before a double show on Saturday and Sunday. So I was training wrestling as well, traveling as a performer. And December 29th of 2019 was my last show. I moved here in January. I was happy. And then I guess the world shut down, and it was actually the day after my birthday because I never go out for my birthday. I went out March 13th, and March 14th, they announced that everything was closing. And so.
But the interesting thing is, in Florida, they considered wrestling essential. So
before,
you're still working.
I'm part of the development brand. So we weren't technically working. We were still employed and getting paid, but we weren't trained or anything like that. I think 3 months after, I think we started in August, we started training. Our facility rented a warehouse, put a ring in it, and we have all of these different these protocols that we have to go through. We get tested every week. We are secluded to our group. So I'm in the beginner group. And so we only train together. We come in 15 minutes before class. We sanitize the ring, sanitize the ropes, the canvas, all of this stuff. And we only work with one person for 3 weeks. And then after those 3 weeks, we work with a different person. And the cycle just continues on and on again. And it's a really good process. I know it's necessary, it's mandatory. So I have no problem with it. We wear a mask when we're outside of the ring. When we're in the ring, we can take our mask off, but once we leave, we put them back on. And so it's a process, but it's necessary. So I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to have a job. I'm happy to be doing something that I love. And yeah. And also, I'm sorry, I just wanted to say as well, the reason why I decided to I'm not hanging up. I think I'm still a part of Circus. I can do Circus tomorrow if I wanted to. But I thought it was time for sure because I wasn't feeling the joy of being in the circus as I did when I first started. It was 16 years. Like I love to perform, and every time I go on stage, it's always a great feeling. But I found myself kind of going through the motions, like coming there, not training as much, not taking care of my body and things like that. And I don't think it's fair because once you get to a high level, you achieve your dreams, you kind of get stagnant. But then you have to remember there's so many other kids that's in ENC, that's in St. Louis, that's working to be where I am. And for me to occupy a space and get comfortable and not really embrace the fact that I'm a part of Cirque du Soleil, it's a paycheck. I don't think it's fair for me to do that, especially when you have other people coming up and want to be where you are. So I felt it was my right, it was my duty to leave circus when I did before it became more than something I love, just a paycheck. I don't think circus is just a paycheck for me. Like I said, circus saved my life. Circus means so much more to me than just collecting a check every 2 weeks or whatever. And for it to continue to grow, you have to do things like that and not what a lot of people do sometimes.
So one thing, I'm hardly a social circus scholar, but I did learn a lot through my filmmaking, in producing Cirque du Cambodia, which, by the way, will be available on November 20th and 21st. There's a link on CircusTalk. You can find Cirque du Cambodia. If you look it up on November 20th and 21st, it'll be available as a benefit, actually, to FAR, the school that I mentioned before, because unfortunately, since COVID happens, they're not able to put on shows, obviously, because it's it's social distancing and people aren't traveling, so it's creating a difficult situation. But the whole point of our discussion, or one of the main points of our discussion today, is just the whole idea of transitioning from social circus to professional circus. And one thing I did learn through my filming is that social circus generally is not geared towards enabling young people to become professional circus. It's really more to kind of, or it usually is more to do the kinds of things that I think Melvin, Sopa, and Sydney were saying, which is like, the bonding experience, the things that you can learn, the growth. And then, of course, in certain situations, if you happen to be super talented, I guess you can make that transition to professional. I do know that Sopa, you did do some professional work on a cruise ship, and also with some professional circus as well. Of course, right now it's a difficult time with COVID. I don't know if you can talk so much about that right now, Sopa, about what it's like for you, in this time with COVID.
Yes, about the COVID, it's very hard for every artist, everybody. So for me, like it's almost like almost 1 years, I did perform because of the COVID. And then also right now I cannot go back to Canada, no somewhere understand Cambodia. So it's very hard for me and for another people from far also. And yeah, but we keep all the time training a lot, because for the artists we should training a lot. And then even we don't have the show, we have to go to the gym all the time and give the chef like looks good. And right now I'm keep you can yeah.
Okay.
My question for all of you is, what would you tell people if they were interested in following in your footsteps? Would you recommend, I know there's COVID, but would you recommend this as a path for other young people or people who want to do it? What would be your advice to them? How can you join the circus and have this life where you travel all over the world and meet new people?
Me personally, I think, I implore a lot of young people to join some sort of social circus, and it doesn't have to lead to where Melvin, Sopa, myself, it doesn't have to lead to where our life is. But like I said, those life skills, like I've done a lot of sports, I've done a lot of things where you're supposed to gain these life skills, and the place I seem to get the most out of life and the knowledge that life provides is from circus. I'm for sure going to put my kids in a lot of different sports and whatnot, but circus will be one of them for sure, because I learned so many things. Basketball is a team sport, but you never. I didn't learn teamwork with playing basketball. I have a lot of good friends, but I really learned teamwork, trust, responsibility, respect in circus. And so I do employ people to at least look at circus for sure, because the path could be a great one. You can travel the world doing something you love in front of a lot of people. A lot of people dream of doing something like this. But if it's not circus, then you learn some skills that's going to prepare you in other parts of your life. Like I'm not doing circus anymore, but everything that I imply in my life, I learned from circus. Everything I have, I wouldn't have if it wasn't for circus. And not circus in particular, but social circus. I think that social circus, people that come from youth circus, I think they tend to have a better career than the people that like were gymnasts before, or someone that started at a very high level in circus, because we learn the important things. Like there's times where we do 3 shows in a day, then we have to clean up. There's times where we set everything up. We help build a tent and things like that. We are outside in the heat. We doing shows in no AC, in a hot tent in 90-degree weather on asphalt. Like those are the things that we learn and we go through in social circus that a lot of people that are princesses, they don't really get those lessons. And so it makes you more humble, makes you a better performer, makes you a better person. And being a good person is what's really most important. So, Melvin, if you want.
Yeah. Honestly, I will add that just going back to that statement where Jessica says circus didn't change my life, it saved my life. And for anybody that, say for example, it is true that circus is for it's for a certain genre of person. Like my ways, I wasn't good at certain things that other people were good at outside of I don't know, like you can have intelligence for so many things, like whether you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a fireman, or anything like that, and that's fine. Like I totally understand that. But for me personally, I think for a lot of youth out there who feel misunderstood from vocalizing things or reading things or writing things or anything like this, like circus is not something you communicate with words. Circus is something that is through trust, it's through team building, it's through physical contact with another person, whether that being your coach or whether that being with somebody that you've never met before in your life. So if you do feel somewhat, as if I'm speaking to a youth, if you feel somewhat misunderstood in a certain path that you're going, and you do have love for acrobatics, or say for example, if you were a gymnast, or if you were circus, you can become a circus artist by absolutely anything. Like if you come in with the love for just the arts or just being creative in general, circus is for you. And you're going to be accepted no matter where you come from, no matter what background you have, no matter nothing. You don't have to come in with this perfect clean slate. Like you can develop in circus to become not just a better performer or an athlete or anything like that. You can come in to be a better person, to build your trust skills, to learn something new. And it's not one thing that you can specifically focus on in circus. There's so many different paths and ways that you can, I don't know, just kind of find your safe haven. You're happy. So for me, if I was just saying that to any youth, circus is not for a specific kind of person. Circus is for each and every person that's willing to open up their mind, learn, trust, grow, build. It's just for absolutely anybody. Like it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your ethnicity, it doesn't matter your views or whatever. It just you just have to show up and be willing to work with other people who are just as happy and open arms, waiting for you to come in and teach us.
Sofa, what would you say to a young person? Because not all of the students from Circus Harmony go professional, not all of the students from FAR. But if they wanted to, why should they join the circus at all? And how can they get from social circus to professional circus? What's your advice?
Sorry, today I don't know how I feel like. Can you keep like I don't know how to say, like, for me it's not.
I think Sopa may be a bit sick.
Do you think it's
Is that
Yes.
Sopa?
So I feel like so bad in my, I don't know how to say. So
Yeah.
could be like
Well, Sopa, appreciate your time, and I think Sydney, you have to kind of go too. So I think we have managed to touch on quite a bit today, and as I mentioned before, everyone you've seen here on the panel is in the film, and the film really does track the lives of Sopa and Dina, who did go from social circus to professional circus. And my film also does feature Emmanuel Bashud from Cirque du Monde, and that was Cirque du Soleil's social circus kind of project. And he explains at length about how social circus really benefits people from all over the world. And I think my film hopefully shows that Sopa and Dina And Sydney and Melvin are great examples of how social circus can be amazing, can help them transition into the professional world. Again, it's not really the normal path for most people going to social circus, but for some extremely talented students, it is. And, you know, if anybody wants to see this documentary about the lives of young people who went from social circus to professional circus, it's going to be available on November 20th and 21st. Cirque du Cambodia is the movie. If you're a fan of Melvin and Sydney and Sopa and Jessica, check it out. Anything else from the rest of you before we sign off here?
Yeah, I think social circus is about opportunity. And you find opportunities there to learn more, to find your own strengths, and to connect with other people in ways that, as everybody has said, you've never imagined. I also want to say that Circus Harmony just did their first online show. It's called The Balancing Act, Walking the Pandemic Tightrope. And for people who want to see how some of our alumni, both Sydney and Melvin are in it, and our current students are keeping their balance in this unbalanced time, that's on YouTube. But I do want to point out that everybody in our listening audience can have exclusive access to the benefit screening of Cirque du Cambodia by going to CircusTalk events. You can pay what you can. As Joel said, it benefits far. Like all arts programs everywhere, they are at a tremendous disadvantage right now during COVID. So please think what you would pay for a ticket, not just to a movie, but to go out for a night, and maybe donate that to FAR. You don't know, but you could be literally saving someone's life. I also want to acknowledge CircusTalk, thank them for this opportunity. And CircusTalk and Changing Realities is CircusTalk's response to the industry crisis around the world that's been precipitated by the pandemic. CircusTalk is an exclusive, independent, and international online network for the circus industry. CircusTalk's mission is to create a level playing field for this industry and democratize access to information. Visit the news page at CircusTalk to follow the ongoing panel series. The panels have been amazing. If you haven't seen them, go look. If you have, you probably missed one, and go look again, because they're so interesting and informative. That's from my personal perspective. And I see a lot about circus, and it's the panelists they found have been extraordinary. I want to thank our extraordinary panelists here today. And if you haven't subscribed yet, CircusTalk invites you to do so today at CircusTalk.com. And you can take advantage of their, I believe it's at 60% COVID discount for the yearly pro membership. You can also get a lot without the pro membership. And once again, thank you to Andrea, to Kim, to everybody at CircusTalk, to Joel for making this movie and telling this story, to Melvin Diggs and Sydney Eiking-Bateman and Sofa for coming on today and sharing your stories, because social circus is universal, but it's universal because it's so personal. So thanks, everybody. And visit Cirque du Cambodia has a website. Circus Harmony has a website. Follow Sydney Eiking-Bateman's name in the WWE NXT is Akeem, A-K-E-E-M Young. That's his
my middle
wrestling name.
It's also my middle.
What? It's also his middle name, and he is young compared to some of us. No. So thank you very much, and run away and join the circus. If you look it up, there's probably a circus school near you, social circus or otherwise, and you never know what can happen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.